Welcome to the ODD Collective Radio Show, and where the agendas are only to tell our stories our way. Where an eclectic group of hosts deliver a different show every Sunday. The show is produced by Ever Beyond Radio and broadcasted over Wolf Spirit Radio Network. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to our worlds.
Okay. Hello, everybody. This is Neel Akash with Haggy Shack Radio, being simulcast on Wolf Spirit Radio. And I have as my guest Nora Willow from Middle East, who's at the moment residing in Italy. Milan, right, Nora?
Yep.
How are you?
I'm good, Neil. How are you? And how's everyone?
So far, so good.
So good.
Wish Nancy was here.
Yeah. But thank you for having me on the show. I was very happy, actually, that you invited me, and I'm very excited. I think this is going to be really cool for the both of us to talk, especially with our background. It's going to be a different take.
Right. Yeah, I have a feeling that we're going to have slightly different kind of a show today. I'm in a different kind of mood than I usually am. So JP is going to be with us, and I plan on having some questions for him as well. So basically, I got a lot of guidance from people on how to run the show, but turns out that I feel like I have no idea what they told me, and I totally lost control, but it doesn't matter. I have Nora with me. So hello, everybody, the audience. I really love you guys because it's really appreciated that people listen, because that makes a difference for me. Otherwise, it would be a kind of a solitary thing. Anyway.
Right.
So Nora.
Yes.
What we're going to focus on you first, and then myself. And basically, what I have in mind is we're going to get into some of our own cultures. Your Middle Eastern culture and my culture from Bangladesh. And
okay.
I think, okay, so...
Yes, absolutely.
Right, so where you want to start?
Well, I was thinking maybe we could talk a little bit about the background of where I come from. I mean,
yeah.
In just a few months ago when I first started coming on air, my the first show I was on Dolly's show. And that was kind of the first time that we talked about my own life and what I've been through. Now, there could be people who are listening in right now who have heard that show, and there might be people who haven't. So we could get into that a little bit about let's say what brought me to where I am presently today, because, you know, everyone's present is kind of connected with their past, obviously. So, yeah, we can get into that. I mean, is there any question you'd like to start with, or do you want me to just jump right in?
I just had something in my mind. Basically,
Sure.
How did the radio show happen? You could start from further back and get to that. Doesn't matter. But I was wondering how Dolly found you.
Well, the funny thing is I was on chat, and I had started I was listening to Wolf Spirit and Haggy Shack for quite some time, but never really went on the chat because even that I don't have much time to go on. But then I just decided one day, and I said, let me just do an account and let me get in. I want to get in and talk to the people.
Hello?
So, hello?
Yeah, you suddenly got silent.
Okay, can you hear me now? Yes.
Yeah, I can hear you, yes.
Yeah, so I was just saying that I got onto the chat. I decided to get onto the chat at some point to interact. So I did an account and just started chatting and getting to know people. It was really, everyone was very welcoming. It was very nice. And I even had much more time on my hands at the time. I mean, right now, I barely have time to breathe, to be honest. The times that I come home.
Can I ask another question?
Sure.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
No.
Basically, you were going to the chat room with Haggy Shack and Wolf Spirit, but how
Yes.
did you get to this radio station in the first
Oh,
place?
okay. Oh, the radio station. Well, that's a
Right.
fun fact. Okay, that's interesting. I was just watching different documentaries and researching different stuff that I was interested in, and at some point I saw a video of Mary Rodwell, and because I've always been very fascinated with children and the memories and the knowledge and spirituality of children, especially because I have my own child who's kind of like that. So I always kind of wanted to know and understand more. So the internet took me to her. So I don't know, I felt drawn to watch her documentaries and interviews. And at some point she brought up Simon Parkes. Now,
Okay.
I said, okay. So I, listened to her and everything. And then at some point I said, all right, let me check out this person, this guy, Simon Parkes. And I kind of got hooked. He was very interesting. He said a lot of crazy things that, for me kind of resonated in a way because, there is a lot of stuff that's really crazy, but just in my gut, I felt I wanted to listen to him.
Oh yeah, he's
And-
crazy indeed. Anyway,
Yes,
just kidding.
but in a good way,
No,
in a good way.
Yeah.
I love crazy.
He says a lot of crazy stuff.
Oh yeah. But a lot of stuff makes sense, and a lot of things that he predicted did come true. So I said, you know what, as I always do, let me give things a chance. So that's what I did. And one of the shows the interviews that I listened to, which I got hooked on. I was, doing even house chores and just putting it on and listening to it, was Connecting Consciousness with JP. And then I said, okay, but where can I see this? I didn't even realize that this is like a live show. So at some point I understood that, there's the station. And it took me a while to get it, but then I understood that, okay, so the show is on this station. And that's when I started listening to that show on the station. And I slowly started to listen to other people because I didn't start right away. And, that's it. I just felt that there was a sense of community. There was a sense of acceptance.
Nora, you got cut off again.
Really? Can you hear me now?
Neil, she's coming through loud and clear. It's probably the loop back
Get a
to
feeling
where
that
you are.
this Probably. Okay.
Okay. So should I continue?
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
please.
we missed
Okay.
it, I think.
Because it's important that you hear me as well, so you can
Right.
hear me now. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's it. As I said, I felt that there was a sense of community. It was a nice feeling. I felt like I just wanted to engage. And I was in a point in my life where, I was in deep depression. I had left already, Saudi Arabia at the time. And, I just wasn't well. I wasn't in the best place in my life at that moment. So I think I kind of needed to be around a community, or even if there wasn't much interaction, but just the feeling of being in a place where there were people that understood the things that I understood, thought the way I thought. We had, similar ways of thinking. It helped me. It was quite healing in a way. It was therapeutic for me. So that's kind of how it started. That's how it started.
How old were you when you left Kingdom
Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. It was 2 years ago. So I was 30.
Okay.
Almost 31.
Right.
Yeah, I was 30.
And could you get a little bit into why you decided to leave Saudi Arabia?
Well, it wasn't a choice. I was kind of kicked out of the country by my family,
Why?
by my biological
Why is that?
family. Well,
Okay.
the thing that happened was, now we have to go back to how the country functions and how the culture functions, and its uniqueness in just the way people behave. There are things in the country that are obviously not accepted, but we kind of have to dissect that a little bit, because it's not that everyone is the same way. Now, the law, or the government, works in a certain way which abides by Sharia law, which actually is not. It's not. It's purely tradition. There are some things that have to do with Sharia law, but a lot of things don't. And we can get into that later. So the thing is that even though the law or the government works in a certain way, within the family unit, every person, every family unit can behave in their own way. What do I mean by that? I'll give you an example. Let's say we take two families. One is very traditional, the other one traditional, but they claim to be, religious, but let's say traditional because that's really what they are.
Darn.
And then, can you hear me now? Hello? Neel?
Neel, I think,
Yeah.
Neel seems to be, you've got a little bit of a delay. So Nora, if you just take a breath every couple of paragraphs, as it were, so that,
Okay.
I think it's just catching up on Neel's end. Just take a pause and that'll be fine. Thanks.
Sure, thank you.
Thanks, JP.
So, as I was saying, if you take a family that's traditional and a family that's more modern, even though the laws are 1, 2, 3, within the family unit, you can still do what you want. So, I'll give you the example. You have these two families, and then within those two families you have, let's say, a girl. Okay? One girl is completely locked up. She can't work. She can't go out, meet people, just make her choices, okay? She can maybe go to university, that's fine, but then after university, she's expected to immediately get married. That's it. Then,
Oh, man.
Is that happening again? Am I still going too fast?
It's the, you should see the wires coming through India. Neel, come back.
Oh, wow.
Neel, are you coming back in real time?
Okay. Do I have to do something?
No, just, it's, I'm just wondering, maybe close down a few windows if you've got some, you're not hearing.
That's a good idea.
Nora, if you've got any Facebook or something like that. It tends to chatter away in the background while Skype is running.
What it is.
We take everything off.
Right.
I'm sorry, Nora. Please continue.
No worries.
Yeah.
Just
No,
tell me
go
when
ahead.
you're ready. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, as I said, this girl can't do much. So she ends up getting married and having to have children and just live that kind of life. And maybe that's not what she wants. Then you have the other family where their daughter can do whatever she wants because she has the support of her family. Meaning, obviously, if she wants to travel, she needs her father's consent. But her father gives her that consent without any problem and just tells her, go. Do what you want. You have full freedom. So he gives her that green card. But without that green card, meaning the access, the permission, she wouldn't be able to do anything. So even though we have very strict laws in Saudi Arabia, it all has to do with the family. Now, a lot of families don't give that freedom, because they're just traditional and they're closed-minded and they believe that's the right thing. They're wired that way. And there are others who actually behave the same way as the traditionalists, but not because they believe in it, but because they're afraid of being, ridiculed, being mocked, being shunned by society. So that's the category of my family.
Right.
You get it? So they're not traditionalists.
Peer pressure.
Yes, absolutely, peer pressure. And they were trying to project their fears onto me. When that didn't work, they just put force. And that's it. Now, this is
How does the force work? How does it go for you?
We'd have to go back to, let's say, when I was younger. I, as a child, and I think a lot of us know that every family has dynamics. Okay?
Right.
As much as we say, we're more evolved than animals, that's bull. Okay? Because we're animals too. We're just maybe cognitively we function differently in a way. But we have hierarchy. We do even in family units. So the weaker one, I put that in brackets, is, the one who maybe is tossed aside or is not taken too seriously or is taken for granted, that kind of stuff. And the one who's
Right,
loud
that
mouth,
happens. Right, I think that happens all over the place.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
This is something that you see everywhere, even within the family units themselves. So
Right.
in my family, in my household, you can see the different personalities. There's the one who's to himself, there's the one who's aggressive, there's the one who's loudmouth and aggressive. It's just different things. I'm the type, I've always been the very quiet, observant type. Very much to myself. And I was also kind of the type of person where I always tried to fix problems. If I got into a dispute with someone, I would, even if I know that I was not in the wrong, because, no one is ever in the wrong 100%, everyone has to take responsibility. I would take the responsibility upon myself of my own mistakes and the mistakes of the other. Now, the problem with me was that I wasn't aware enough of the damage I was doing to myself. Children, a lot of times now, this new generation, they're much more evolved, much smarter. I see my daughter, she doesn't do that. She knows already.
Right.
She knows things that if I knew, I would have saved myself a lot of trouble. But you see, everyone has a path. I didn't understand that. I didn't realize that, you have to protect your energy, you have to protect yourself. Protection, when I say protection, I don't mean based on fear. What I mean is based on your duty towards yourself, your well-being. I completely neglected it because, I thought that I had to be there to take care of everyone emotionally, because I was very strong emotionally, still am. I'm a very strong empath. And, but being an empath, it could backfire on you very, very much if you don't know how to handle it. I'm just learning now how to handle it, how to use this, this gift. So the reason why I bring this up is because the conclusion is, when you behave in a certain way, your family then, judges you in a certain way. So then you are automatically placed in a position in this dynamic of the family. So you get my point? So my position was, the one who was kind of, what's the word? Invisible, not maybe very, bright, whatever. So, and even the one who could be pushed around. And, when you grow up and then you start really going through a lot, and I've had to deal with things that were a bit too intense for my age. And, of course, these things make you stronger. They make you a stronger person. They teach you. And I've always had inner guidance. There was a lot of inner guidance. I would, trust my gut and I would do the right thing. So, obviously, at some point, when I got to 29, 30, I became a completely different person, especially because I got out of the house a few times. I got married and I had chances to be away from my family for a while. So when I went back, I was a completely different person. And just to note, my mom was away for 4 years. She was living in the States, close to my sister. So she hasn't been around me for 4 years. And we were very close when I was younger. And when she came back, she saw a completely different person. Now, she didn't accept that. So, from a person who's not a problem, hello? Hello?
Have we lost Neel?
Okay.
Hang on a second. Wait for Neel to catch up. Goes away.
Yeah, I'm back.
Okay, he's back.
Yeah, so I don't know what you heard, Neel.
I think I heard most of it. But,
most of it, okay. Yeah, so anyway, just the last thing I want to say before I let you speak, because I kind of hogged the microphone.
No, it's all right.
Yeah, because I'm just saying this just to kind of give you the picture of then what we're going to talk about later. Because if I don't say this, it's not going to make sense. So that's it. So from a person who was not trouble, who was easy to deal with, to someone who became a little bit of a problem. So you can understand how that could kind of disrupt the balance of the dynamic. So that's all I wanted to say for now, at least. I mean, just to give you the background.
All right. I had a little bit of curiosity regarding the practice of Islam in Saudi Arabia, because this is different from Bangladesh, for instance. We're similar because both countries are very, very Muslim, but I think there are major differences. Mm-hmm. Do you remember?
I'm also very curious from your country as well.
How early you were taught the religion, the religious stuff, the basics, fundamentals?
Well, I would have to say from first grade. Because before, to be honest, I don't remember much. I think it's because, and I say this with full humility. I think I came to this world with something. Okay? Meaning that there's a system within me, there's a program, or whatever it is, I don't know, I don't know what word to use. There's something that's making it very difficult to control me, to instill programming.
Indoctrinate, right?
Exactly. Very difficult.
Right.
Now, I can't deny at all that my mom also played a big role in my life. Very big role, because she, I mean, unfortunately now we're not in good terms at all. Her choice, not mine, unfortunately. I mean, it's a sad thing. But when I was younger, as I told you, we were very close. She taught me a lot. And because I would go to her, ask her questions, like, Mom, they said this to us at school. Obviously it didn't make sense to me. I didn't need anyone to tell me that. But her explanations helped a lot. Because when you hear it from your parent, then you say, oh, okay, so my feelings aren't wrong. My intuition is not wrong. There is something that's not right in the teaching and what I'm being taught at school. So, but I have to say that I remember the teachings from, like at school, the indoctrination was, I think, from first grade. It started from there.
Did it happen in school or through your parents?
No, my parents, as I told you, my mom is not, I mean, she converted to Islam for a while. And she was actually quite, I have to say, she was quite religious, but this was before I was born. This was in the 70s. And she got her fair share of disappointments. And I think my mom, she was trying to go with the flow, because, I mean, a good thing about her is that she does try. And I think that's a great thing, in the sense that she's quite fluid at trying new things and seeing if it works for her. Obviously, it didn't work for her. So she stopped. I mean, she left the practice. And she's just, she believes to be... Sorry?
I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. I was going to ask you, is she actually left the practice of Islam? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, she did.
Oh, wow. Okay, so
she was born... Yeah, she was born a Roman Catholic. And then when she married my dad, she, by her choice, my father didn't force her, my mom decided to become Muslim. So she practiced Islam for a while, for about, I don't know, a decade or a bit less. But again, this was before I was born. And then she kind of had her awakening. And that was kind of the period of New Age as well, where, it got really popular. And she got a lot of her answers through New Age. And that's when I was born in 84. And so yeah, she helped me a lot. My father, I didn't have much. I mean, my father's a very tender person. He's very sweet. But there was not much conversation between us. And I have my theories about my father, which we can get into later on. But we didn't really talk much with my dad. But my father's not a religious person, but I think there's a schizophrenic kind of situation in my family. Okay. It's just weird because in my family, I don't understand what are they? They don't even know what they are. I know what I am. That's the difference. I know what I stand for. Okay? I know what I stand for. And for me, Sure.
I'm sorry. Would you call your family fanatical or liberal or moderate? Would you categorize them in any
I
term?
call them freaking confused. That's what I call them. Because they have not been consistent in their behavior, Neel. They have not been consistent. I mean, they exhibit a lot of double standards. That's the problem. And I mean, I'm saying this, I mean, you know, a lot of people don't like to talk this way, but I'm just talking facts. And it kills me to see this because life is short. So you either stand by what you believe in, and if you don't, then that's your choice, but you cannot force others who do to be like you. That was my struggle with my family.
I see.
You see, like my brother, for example, he can do certain things, but he does not allow others to do the same things. Okay, and he says it to your face. I can do them, but you can't.
Oh, wow.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And this kind of behavior is tolerated.
Mm.
So, and I mean, almost everyone in my family, you know, has a glass or two every once in a while. They're not religious. I mean, they're just, you know, they're not radicals.
Okay.
As I told you, they are completely afraid of the peer pressure, as you said, in society.
Peer pressure and making a scandal, I guess, in some ways.
Exactly.
Oh.
Exactly. Absolutely. So yeah, that's kind of how I could kind of sum it up. But yeah, the religious indoctrination was from school. Oh, and it was horrible. It was torture for me.
So when you were in school, when you were a child, did you actually understand that? Did you question or doubt the indoctrination? Did you not believe in Allah and all the basics?
I believe in a creator. I don't really care what's his name.
Okay.
Bluntly saying it, I really don't care what's his name, and I don't think he has a name, or she, he, she, it.
Okay.
I've never been too preoccupied with these trivial things. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Mm-hmm.
I believe in a creator. I believe in God's creation. I believe there are angels. I mean, I believe that there are other creations that the creator has created, that we're not the only ones. I believe in all these things.
Okay.
And I believe that the prophets their intention was to spread a good message. But further from this, I cannot be opinionated. That's practically my stand on this. It's quite simple. It's very simple. So I wasn't there. I mean, when I have conversations with people and they tell me, yes, but you know, this person said that and that, and I would just say, were you there? Did you witness this? They're like, no. I said, then how could you be sure? No, but the books say it, and I don't. It's like, okay, do you know if the person who wrote those books was truthful? Do you know the agenda of the person? No, I don't. But what? Why are we having this discussion? Why does this? I mean, why does it matter? This has always been my stand, to be honest. And when I was younger, I did try to question, but I got in trouble. So my mom told me, just keep it to yourself, study the books, just do your exams so you can pass, because, I mean, without passing, then you're not going to be able to get a degree. Just do it, get it out of the way. And there will come a time where you're not going to have to deal with all this. And she was right. So I stopped questioning. I just stopped.
Did you? I'm sorry. Were you ever forced to do your prayers and other stuff, the rituals and rites?
That's a good question. You said I kind of blocked all that stuff out. Let me see. At school, now you see the good thing is that I went to private school. So private schools they're a little more lenient than public schools. Public schools are a nightmare. Private schools you pay, and this shows you the hypocrisy as well that, because you're going to a school where you pay a lot of money, they don't really, it's not as strict. But for example, I was put in situations that were not very nice. Like, for example, I remember one time I had this little pendant on me. I mean, this is not the answer to your question, but I'll get back to that. Just to give you an example. I would have a little pendant on me, and the pendant had like a little verse of the Quran, which I hold dear until now. Again, even though I'm not a practitioner, but I take what's good from every religion. So this verse is quite meaningful to me. And I was very young at the time. And the teacher saw it, and she said, "What is this?" And I said, this is the ayah, the Ayatul Kursi from the Surah Al-Baqarah. I'm sure you know it, from the Quran. And I said, she said, that's, you shouldn't be wearing that. I said, well, my mom gave it to me. Why can't I wear it? She said, no, this is like, what's the word in English? It's kind of like those things that you do that are not, wow, what's the word? I can't think of the word. Not taboo, but there are people in Islam, for example, they say, like superstitions. That's kind of the only word that can come to my mind right now.
Bid'ah?
Like bid'ah, exactly.
Okay.
Which is superstition. That's the closest word to bid'ah. Mm-hmm. And she said that's a bid'ah, and this is a sin, this is haram. And I'm like, what? And she started yelling at me, and I cried because I was very young at the time. She embarrassed me in front of everyone, and she took it away, and all things like that. And we couldn't, for example, have like nail polish on our nails. It was forbidden. These little dumb things. You couldn't do these things. So they were strict on these kind of things. Well, I can understand maybe the nail polish because, you need to look in a certain way at school. You have your uniform and all that. But they would, for example, come and say, go pray. And we would just give them justifications that we can't pray. But they would catch up to us and say, you can't be in that state, because when you get your menstruation as a woman, you don't pray in those days. So, it'd say, oh, we've got, our period, and you can't have your period every day. You get what I'm saying? So, but they just let it go. They wouldn't really, they would get upset with us, but we just didn't care.
Okay.
So, I never really cared. So yeah.
How did you feel about your government? Are they totally tyrannical?
Well, I can't say totally, because the media portrays Saudi Arabia worse than what it really is. Now, maybe on an underground basis, maybe they are. But on the surface, it doesn't seem to be as bad. To us, at least. Our circle. We're kind of the middle to higher class. We were okay. My problems were that I couldn't travel without my father's permission. I couldn't, issue my own passport. These are big things. These are big deals. This is a big deal to me. And to people like me. Because, as a woman, I feel like I don't have rights like a man. I can't work without permission. Everything that a woman can do, she cannot, everything a woman wants to do can't do it without permission. So these were kind of my problems. If I go out, for example, with my face uncovered or my hair showing a little bit, we get, the religious police, which we have, coming and harassing us and screaming at us and being, now I heard from some people that it has calmed down a little bit now, because there have been incidences where the religious police got physical with some people, and it was bad. It was quite a scandal. So I think the authorities had to kind of pull them back a little bit, which is good. But yeah, even in the 90s, it was bad. I mean, I have a friend that she was caught with a man who was not a family member, and they hit her with a stick on her leg more than once in the street. And this was in Jeddah. It wasn't even in Riyadh where I was living. So it is bad if you compare it to the West. But it's not as bad now. I'm talking now. It's not as bad as the media shows it to be. But again, that's only on the surface. I'm only talking about what you see on the surface. Very superficial. I have no idea what they do underground.
So do people basically accept the form of government you have? Nobody questions it. Nobody tries to change it.
Okay, so this is an interesting question because there's the answer to your question about tyranny. I completely forgot about that. If they try, then that's where things get ugly. Yeah, you can't. Yeah, for example, you can't protest. It's forbidden to protest.
You cannot, right?
Cannot. Yes, you cannot protest. Even peacefully,
Wow.
you cannot. You can't talk against the government.
You cannot.
Yeah, you cannot. And
Wow.
yeah. So, and if you do, yeah, you get arrested. And if you talk about religion, where even if you're not being disrespectful to the religion, but they twist it in a way where it seems so, whether you do it this way or that way, you're in big trouble if they catch you. Like that young guy who put something on Twitter and they executed him.
Right.
So yeah, they are tyrannical.
Yeah, that's completely totalitarian.
Yeah. Yeah, you see, I think I couldn't answer you at the beginning because I so blocked this from my head. Now that we're talking about it, it's starting to come out again. But because even though I lived there, it's so out of my capacity to understand it, how people can be this way. I think it's like a defense mechanism. That's why it's like I blocked it out of my brain. But yeah, now that we're talking right now, yes, they are. I mean, I know they are. I've always known they were. But they're very good at kind of hiding a lot of things, making it look like, giving justifications and...
Right. What I heard is that American people are like demigods over there in Saudi Arabia. They are a class of their own. Why is this? I mean, what's the rationale behind it?
Well, I think it's because of the diplomatic relations. That's the only explanation. Right. You don't want to upset any American living there, because then if that happens, then if a Syrian dies, it doesn't matter. If 10,000 Syrian die, it doesn't matter. But if one American dies, then the American government is going to make a big deal out of it. I mean, that's how it is, and it's not the fault of the American government because they do what they have to do for their civilians. But this tells you actually how crappy the Arab world is with each other. They're like the Arab world is expecting others to come and fix the damage. And even though the damage was created from the West, these idiots don't understand that they need to unify. If they believe in this, whole Arab world uniting, then unite. But they're all against each other. They should be helping each other. So.
How much power does the Saudi Arabian government have against the American hegemony? America always tries to control other countries, right? Every government they do something with. So, how much do you feel that the native Arabs can stand up to the American manipulation and control in the government, in the development, in the oil sector, for instance, or gold sector, anywhere?
Are you talking about the people or the government?
I'm talking about the government. Because the people are...
To be honest...
It seems to me that... Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, to be honest, I mean, again, maybe I'm talking out of ignorance, but I'm not an expert in these, politics, but, from what I can see from the little that I've learned and I've researched, Saudi Arabia doesn't stand a chance. They don't. They're just puppets.
Right.
They're not that powerful. They're not. Saudi Arabia is powerful because of America. That's it.
Uh-huh.
We're their little, bitches. That's what we are. Excuse me.
Very interesting. Right.
Really? Yeah, because, if you go back, for example, now, if we go really, really far back with, the third king of Saudi Arabia, King Faisal. Okay. He was a powerful guy and he was very strict, but he was good. He was good for the country. So his main priority was to develop Saudi Arabia. Okay.
Nice.
But not to, so he understood the game. He knew that the American government at the time wanted to take control. He actually refused to create this deal with the states regarding oil. He said they have to be on his terms, on Saudi Arabia's terms. What did they do? They took him out. They killed him. And how? That was a conspiracy.
Oh yeah, every time.
Yeah. One
That's
of his own. His nephew. His nephew who went to the States and studied in the States, he was brainwashed. He came back and he shot him. He killed him.
All right.
Because God knows what they told him.
That's a story.
Exactly. Absolutely.
So, let me ask you this. As far as what we're doing or trying to do in terms of the alternative media in the West, in the United States, the awakening, the paradigm shift, and the apocalypse of the uncovering of truths and hidden information, secret space civilization, ETs and creation of human, and all these things that we're learning. So is there any of it permeating into the Saudi Arabian consciousness? Are there people following these things? Are they waking up or learning the new stuff, or it's totally dark?
Now, the funny thing is, and I brought this up in another show, that even when I was at school and we would study certain things, everything that we talk about now was being told at school.
Really? Which school is this again?
In schools in general in Saudi Arabia, in schools in general, not just my school. They would talk about Israel, but the thing is they didn't understand. They would, for example, say, all Jews, you have to hate Jews. And I would say, it's not the Jews, it's the governments. They can't. Now, the problem with Arabs, they have this really annoying trait where they're too emotional. You get what I'm saying? They're too emotional. They cannot separate. They don't know how to separate. So it's either everyone or no one. It doesn't work that way. You have to dissect the situation and find the source. And in this case, it's quite simple. It's quite straightforward. The people have nothing to do with what's been going on. They got a lot of it right regarding conspiracy, regarding who's responsible for all this. And in school, they would say that the biggest evil is America and Israel. Okay, so they were talking...
You were allowed to say these? Okay.
Oh yeah, at school, yes. And they were instilling hatred in Americans and towards Israeli people. Always.
How do they do this? Through classes or?
Yeah.
The curriculum? Which courses would be discussing this kind of?
That's interesting because it's not like it's not that it was in the curriculums itself.
Okay.
Okay, because in the curriculums were quite, bad. They weren't really that good, and we didn't study politics or anything like that. But they would always talk about these things in classes of religion.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yes.
I'm familiar with this, yes.
Exactly. So
Right.
in the religious classes, and we had 5 subjects of religion, for God's sake. Seriously.
Okay.
So there were a couple where they would talk about these things. And this has nothing to do with religion. It's all politics, but they would bring in politics with religion. And that's very telling, in my opinion. But they talked about these things.
Right. America bashing or West bashing is like one of the favorite pastime of the religious teachers.
Yes.
Oftentimes. Right.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. It's the same over here as well.
But the problem is that, yes, a lot of what they were saying wasn't wrong. But the way they were saying it...
Yeah, it's just hateful.
Exactly. And that's not how it should be.
Right. And ignorant too. They
yes.
exaggerate and make really, bad impression.
Emotional.
It's not fair. Right.
Emotional. Just emotional.
Yeah.
That it's okay to kill them. They're all going to go to hell anyway. And only the Muslims go to hell, just like the Christians say. Only the Christians go to, only the Muslims go to heaven. Sorry, hell.
Oh, no. You don't say that. Anyway.
Well, I guess my subconscious was thinking something else.
Yeah.
I guess I got some issues. But anyway.
All right.
No, but seriously, jokes aside, yeah, even the Christians say that only the Christians go to heaven. And everyone is going to think they're better than anyone else. Mm-hmm. So you see this pattern everywhere. That's why and I was talking to you before, just a couple of days ago on the chat, we were chatting, and I told you, I feel, right now I've come to a point where I really feel, just now, this past period, I feel a little disassociated. I'm like, okay.
Right, you did tell me that.
Yeah, I even shared it on the show when Barbara Three Crow was on last week. Was it last week? Yes, last Wednesday. It's not that I don't care. I do care. Right. I do care. But I'm just like, when you get to a point where you do not want to react.
Yeah, I think it's automatic. It's happening to me as well. I just don't feel attached to anything at all in the media.
That's the word.
None of the news, no blogs, no memes, nothing is attracting me. It's like I don't get any traction with any of the stuff that's being shared.
Exactly.
Any kind of media. It's like, all right, it's the same old. The pedophilia and the Trump stuff and the election's still, up in the air, stuff happening. So
Absolutely.
All of these things feel like, it's the same old drama and we're just looping around. At the same time, though, I do feel that there's a massive transformation happening, which is not visible. I just feel it. It's kind of subtle.
Yes.
And things are happening behind the scenes and it's not being reported properly. Right.
Exactly. And I think I had a little kind of thought maybe it was 2 days ago where I was asking myself, why am I feeling this way? Mm-hmm. Then something came to me and said that it's like whoever has experienced this, even whoever is listening, that, it's like you're in a hibernation mode emotionally.
Uh-huh.
Because the funny thing, I've been watching this series for a couple of days. I've been binge watching it, and because it's the weekend, so I said, just want to relax. And it's called Dark Matter. Not really a nice series, but I kind of got hooked. And there was this one quote that stuck.
Okay.
I'll paraphrase it because I don't remember it exactly, but the meaning is that when change comes, everything becomes fluid. That's quite powerful.
Right.
So, if there is a change coming, then it means that maybe this feeling, at least this is kind of how I interpreted it, I don't know, that this feeling of kind of detachment is kind of it's kind of a moment of assessment. Because you can't assess when you're emotional. Right? You can't assess in the right way, at least in my experience. When I become emotional, I do irrational things. I become impulsive. So if I'm completely in my center, I'll know what to do. And that's kind of how I feel right now. So I don't know if that's clear, but that's kind of the feeling I'm getting.
Right, right. JP, how are you?
Captain.
Hey, we're getting close to the end of the first hour.
Yeah, I got some tunes. I got some great tunes lined up. Which one do you want? I've got I'm a Slave for You by Britney Spears. Always on the Run by Lenny Kravitz. No, I was just like
Let me hear some Lenny Kravitz.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
How about Are You Gonna Go My Way?
Okay.
Yeah? That's one of my bands.
Good.
All right. Oh, there was also Whipping Post, but I thought that was really bad taste.
Okay.
Let's stick with Lenny.
And we're back. Hi, everybody. I hope we didn't put people to sleep to this show, but that would be really bad for Nora. She's telling us her story, and I think she's doing a fantastic job because I do have quite a few curiosity about how life in this Saudi Arabia is viewed by the common people, because this is somewhat similar to my own culture from Bangladesh, but Bangladesh is a democracy, at least on facade. We do not deal with this kind of severe totalitarian kind of tyranny that Saudi Arabia seems to have. And however, we have a two-party system basically in Bangladesh, kind of like the United States, but that has been shot down over the past 9 years or so. And right now we have a tyrannical government that is getting stronger and stronger, and people are being disempowered, and the stuff going on along those lines. Excuse me. Excuse me. Nora, are you back?
Yes, I am. I'm right here.
All right. Okay, cool. So
tell us a little bit about what's been going on. I mean, because I don't have almost any information about Bangladesh. I mean, I've been to Bangladesh once, and I've been for a day, and the people were really, really nice. I told you before, just they were so welcoming and very nice. I felt really. It was just a nice feeling, and but I know very little, so maybe you can share a little bit with us. I mean, what's going on in the sense of what has changed?
Right. Okay. Basically, I personally perceive a bit of change in the mass consciousness, due to the work that people like us are doing, and it's not really, all that much, but people do talk differently these days, and sometimes they joke about the topics that we cover. They think it's a joke, but even as a joke, it's there. So it's in their consciousness. So we are permeating their morphogenetic field, or whatever you want to call it. But essentially, what's happening is the media propaganda is still keeping people busy with, for instance, right now we have this Rohingya problem with Myanmar, and the Muslims are being kicked out and beaten and burned. People are being burned. Stuff like this is happening, which is horrific. And personally, I totally feel this is, just as anything else, a divide and conquer type of psyops that's losing face all over the place, but still on their last legs in countries such as Bangladesh and Pakistan, maybe where people are not so conscious at this time. But still, some changes are occurring and people are thinking differently. This is just a feeling that I get. And yeah. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Nora.
I feel that too. No, I feel that too in Saudi Arabia as well. Obviously, the circle that maybe, I'm seeing is very small, but there are some changes in consciousness. It's good that people are talking about things that, for example, I see comments on Facebook that I would have never expected to see. Things that have to do with, respecting nature a little more. Just even things talks about, the status quo. I mean, I've noticed little comments that may seem insignificant, but, when you kind of collect them all together, they kind of paint a picture. So the change is happening slowly. I have a theory.
Okay.
And actually, maybe it's not even a theory. It's, something that I think everyone agrees on, that when things happen slowly, they're steady. Just like if you go on a diet, for example, you need to lose a few pounds. If you lose them fast, you regain them fast. But if you lose them slowly, the right way, the healthy way, then it's much more difficult to regain regain the weight. That's maybe a trivial example, but it's very telling that everything that happens, even in love, and I think we all experience that. If you meet someone and you have just this relationship that's full of passion, and it dies out very quickly. But when you get to know a person, you get to create a bond. Now, it sounds funny what I'm saying, but it really is the same thing. So I think consciousness is the same. If you throw information at people and expect them, they might get the information, but they might get it quickly and lose it quickly. But if they're fed this information slowly, for them to take the time to process it, because the brain needs to process these things. The brain with the heart, I see myself. I learned a lot of things when I was younger. I did all my studying myself, my research myself, and I started at really my reawakening started when I was 18, 19, and I read a lot. But all that knowledge was intellectual. It was in my head. It didn't sink into my heart because my daily choices were still the same. I was still doing the same stupid things. I was still behaving the same way, the same pattern. But then when it finally sunk into my heart, where I took the time to process this info and make it become part of my life, I started becoming a better person, the better version of myself, which is, still becoming hopefully better the more I work on myself. So I guess we got to see it that way, that the change is happening. We just have to be patient.
Correct.
It's just going to take time.
Right. And you touch on a very interesting point that Don Juan from Carlos Castaneda calls it inventory. When you learn something, it just goes into your inventory of things that you know. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's just like if you have a business, you sell 10 products and you add 2, now you have a 12 product business. But it's basically the same business that you have. You expanded it a little bit. So it's the same with consciousness. Like when you learn this, that, there's so much information explosion on the internet. So people, just the other day, I was talking to this kid meaning he's a younger guy. He's a friend of mine. And he's asking me, what's an obelisk? And what do you think about the pyramid and stuff like this? And I remember that, I've been through that phase of going through details and small things, trying to learn everything that comes my way. And it was like a knowledge raining on me. It was like a knowledge rain. Every day I learned so much. So, but it can just become an inventory for you. You just learn all these little things and you think you're going somewhere, but essentially you're still operating as the same businessman, but you just have a few more items in your bag. So nothing changed. But except that you think that now you're much more wiser and you are not brainwashed anymore and you're not indoctrinated. Now you understand everything. That's not necessarily true for everyone, just because you're getting the information.
As long as it stays in the intellect.
Yes, exactly, right.
Wisdom can, yeah, absolutely. Wisdom cannot come. Wisdom comes from the heart. The heart is where the spirit is. That's kind of our transmitter or I don't know, I mean, what word to use right now, it's not coming to me, but it's kind of where isn't it our prime brain? The heart is where everything is. That's where the magic happens. When you feel sadness, where does it feel at the beginning? It starts from the heart. Mm-hmm. Everything comes from that point. So, and we're talking internal. Now, of course,
and when you say heart, that immediately triggers Max Pierce in my head. Yeah. Interestingly enough, because basically this is coming from the guidance I was getting. The topics that suggested topics that people told me to cover if I needed to, just to have a few topics, just in case we come to an impasse and don't find anything to talk about. Yeah. Yeah. So hopefully that's not gonna happen. We're already past the first hour, and we have JP with us. So basically, Max Pierce and Hart, he was saying in his later interviews that the cabal or the whoever is trying to control us attacks the human heart, the collective heart of all humanity, right? Or the heart of Mother Earth. So that's where they attack, and they try to break the heart and make it suffer. And this way, whole humanity gets weakened and disempowered. So this is one of the tricks that they use. And to counteract it, we have to do what you just said. We have to move from the brain to the heart. And this is a cliche, but it's an important concept to understand. It's a real one. And not many people really understand what this means and why it's important. A lot of people actually reside in their heads, and hence they remain programmed. I think the heart cannot be programmed. This is one of the things about the heart, right? It doesn't make mistakes. It cannot be programmed. So, and personally, I feel that the divine feminine, represented by generally women, are more adept using their hearts. I've seen lots of examples of women, certain women, maybe not everybody, perhaps. Even men also do the same. I'm sure JP would be an adept. But I've seen women who are really good at cutting through the nonsense. Just cut to the chase and use their heart and just, get to the bottom of things. And
exactly, because
drop the garbage. Yeah.
Yeah. Why? Now, this brings up an interesting question that is right now kind of trending a little bit.
Okay.
Regarding the sacred feminine, and the sacred feminine resides in both male and female, just like the sacred masculine resides in both male and female.
Correct.
Now, this is the thing that is so clear. It's so blatant that it's not even funny. How the reason why women have been attacked, raped emotionally and physically, for dominance, and just pinned down. Now, why? And this is not the fault of men in general, okay? Men have been controlled just as women have been. But whoever is responsible for the beginning of this, it's very clear they understood the knowledge of the sacredness of these two energies. Now, because women operate with the sacred feminine, because, they're life givers and they just operate that way more so, they're a danger. Because if you operate through your heart, now I remember, for example, in the Islamic teachings, and maybe you've come across this, they always bring up how weak women are, how irrational women are. And this is something that you have even in the West. I mean, they make fun of women. Oh yeah, women are irrational. Oh, she's crazy. Oh, she's hysterical. Now, the thing is, what people don't understand is that a woman's capability and strength on an emotional level is so powerful because she can go hysterical, okay, and break down, but she has the capability to get right back up. That's an inner strength women have, okay, because of the heart. Now, men have that same strength, but the problem is when a man is operating only with this masculine programming where, oh, you're tough, you can't cry, men don't cry, boys don't cry, things like that, then you're cutting off the true power a man has and unlocking his sacred feminine and his sacred masculine as well. Because the sacred masculine is not like that. The sacred masculine is not an oppressor, is not a controller. No, that's not the sacred masculine. That's the opposite. So men have been shut down too. But now, unfortunately, collectively, most men now operate that way. Very few are open, are truly open to their sacredness within themselves, whether it's both male and female within themselves. But most men don't operate that way because of the social programming. So if a man breaks down, okay, and loses it for an incident, very difficult for them to get back up. They can't. Right. That's why men usually are very, very distant. That's why men put this front of, I don't have feelings, or, oh yeah, you're just being crazy.
Being a tough guy and stuff like that.
Because they can't handle the emotion. They haven't been taught. And to me, that is a huge crime against men. It breaks my heart when I see that, It pisses me off as well because, I've been subjected to a lot of injustice by men. So I'm kind of, my challenge right now is to kind of let go of that a little bit. I still harbor some resentment. I'm going to be very honest, a little bit, but at least I'm brave enough to admit it. I'm not just going out there and throwing passive aggressive comments that some women do, but I admit I still have residue of trauma, but I'm working on it. I don't want to be like this. And whatever has happened to me is not a justification to feel this way. So, being objective, for me, to be objective, I have to understand that men have been oppressed as well. They can't work from their heart.
Exactly. That takes me back again to Max Spears because he said exactly that thing in his own words. That the divine masculine was actually is under attack, because the divine masculine's job is to protect the divine feminine. And so in order to make the divine feminine vulnerable, they attack the divine masculine. And, they made the males more effeminate in some ways and less macho. I don't know exactly.
Oh, you mean now?
Yes. Now and sometime in the past. It's been a systematic.
Exactly. If you notice now, I've noticed that, for example, in series and programs, and it kind of irritates me a little bit. Mm-hmm. I see that a lot of the protagonists in the movies are women. These women that, beat these guys up and there's a lot of violence, a lot of combat. Okay. Yeah. And you see these women kind of like, with all these maneuvers. My brother, he's a bit of a, he has his issues, but he'd say, this is science fiction because women can't fight men. But that's besides the point. It's true that there's a lot of emasculation. They're just giving wrong ideas to people. So what is it? Are the women stronger than men. They're breaking them physically, like fighting with them, and then the men are like thrown on the floor like bags of potato. Or are the men better than women because they? What is it? There's a lot of confusing. They're giving a lot of confusing signals. They're confusing people right now.
Right.
They're confusing people. And I think men are starting to resent the fact that they're feeling emasculated. So when they resent this fact, they become even more resentful. So they have an even stronger need to insult women, objectify them even more. It's just a chain. Women at the same time, when men do that, women become more resentful as well towards them and try to, break the man's spirit and make him, emasculate him even more. I mean, it's a mess. Everyone is fighting everyone. And it's just exhausting. I mean, I don't know how people can do this.
Right. I think there's two sides to this. Basically, because of the change that's happening energetically, we're going from 3D to 4D. We're probably in 4D in some parts of planet Earth, going into 5D. Because of this shift, there is a bit of fading of the two polarities in some cases. So I think in 5D, the male and the female is not so cut and dry and so pronounced. I think this is another aspect that's happening. So it's not all negative, I think.
That's a good point.
Right.
So you're saying practically that this confusion right now is because there's kind of a shaking.
Right.
Okay.
Right. There's a shuffling and shaking and transformation, transmutation, etc.
Now it's interesting that you bring that up because we kind of like jumped subjects, but it's just very interesting how you kind of we shift into one subject and another, but they're all kind of connected. But this thing about shifting into 4D and 5D, now it sounds really crazy, I think, to a lot of people. If you go up to them and tell them that, they're going to say like, okay, what have you been smoking? But it's true. It's true. I mean, now the reason why people's third eye, for example, is more active is because they can see into the next dimension. Some people have that ability. I've had instances where I've seen things, not deliberately, obviously, it just happened. But it stopped for a while. And now, since I think this jump to 4D is becoming stronger, it's starting to happen again. I mean, I've been having a lot of activity the past period.
Okay. Care to share some of it?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, so let me see which one was first. Okay, just a couple of months ago, I was sitting talking to a friend of mine on the phone, and suddenly on the corner of my eye, it was night, it was evening, so the windows were closed, I had my light on, and on the corner of my eye, on the right side, in the ceiling, suddenly this big orb appeared, an orb of light. It was like a whitish yellow orb.
Wow.
And I immediately turned around, reflex. It just disappeared. Then I remembered, I don't know who said it. Was it Simon Parks? I don't remember who said it. But someone suggested that if you want to see something, focus on it through the corner of your eye. Don't look directly into it, because if you look directly, you're not going to be able to see it. So I said, okay, let me do that. So I turned around. No, actually, I wasn't thinking that. I turned around and said, I just let it go. I thought I imagined something. But then it appeared again. When it appeared again, that's when I remembered. I said, okay, let me try looking at it through the corner of my eye. So I focused, and I saw it. I saw it more clearly. And there was this big orb. And it just hovered there for a few seconds. It was just maybe 3 seconds. But, these kind of experiences, even 3 seconds feel like a long time.
Yeah,
and then it faded away. When I was in Qatar, before moving to Italy, I was sitting down in front of the TV, which I never watched. I mean, it was I was there. My husband likes to watch basketball. So I was just sitting there, the TV off. I was listening to something on my phone. And on top of the TV, there's this wall, the white wall behind the TV. And this big blue purplish face appeared on the wall. And it disappeared.
Wow.
Just weird things like that. And other things. Even just a few days ago, I went to visit my family in a nearby city, my uncle. And I was, cause they have two apartments that are facing each other. So I was sleeping in the same apartment with my uncle. And that was the old apartment of my grandmother and grandfather. And that's where my grandmother passed away. So when I went to bed at night, I switched off the lights, closed the windows, everything. It was pitch black. And then suddenly, behind me, on the wall, I see this figure.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was like a whitish figure. Okay, and I could see it, but then I turn around, it goes away. And when you experience these things, sometimes your logical mind does not process it. That happens sometimes. And then, you think again and you're like, what the hell did I see? So I just went to sleep. I usually don't panic when these things happen. But then I thought maybe it could have been my grandmother. I don't know. She passed away many, many years ago. Now it's been, it's been almost 20 years now. 21 years actually. So I don't know what it was. But the thing is, these things are happening. And could that be because of the 4D? That, the fabric is kind of disintegrating, not disintegrating, but changing. Could it be that? Could it be something else?
Right. You said this earlier because during the periods of change, things become fluid, you said, right? Isn't that what you said earlier?
Yeah.
Right. So, the dimensional barriers may be kind of blending into each other a little bit, and we're getting glimpses of other dimensions, parallel realities, and stuff like that being reported by people.
Yeah. But has this been happening for a while, or is this something new, and people who are experiencing it before they just have the ability to, because this is kind of the thing that I'm wondering. Will the collective start experiencing en masse? Because people who experienced it before, even 100 years ago or 200 years ago, these are people that have abilities, mental abilities, where, their mind operates in a different way. And, the mind, or, the third eye, spiritually, it's all connected at the end of the day, because the machine works with, its consciousness and everything.
Nora,
so
I'm sorry, could you start from the question? Could the collective?
Yeah, I was saying, could the collective be able to at some point see it en masse? Start seeing these things en masse? Because in the past, the people who even 100 or 200 years ago could see these things, maybe they had unique abilities to see into the fourth dimension or the fifth dimension. But right now, how long has it been that this change is happening? From what I understand, this is something new. This change, the 3D we as 3D people are entering into, or 3D consciousness entering into the 4D on a mass scale. Are we all going to start experiencing these things? En masse?
I believe that we cannot, I'm just repeating something I read or listened to somebody, is that this probably won't be a all-encompassing kind of deal. Some people who are sensitive or who are aligned with the higher consciousness that's manifesting would be experiencing these things, but not everybody. A lot of people are just lost in the matrix and do not care, not interested. They will have a different kind of experience. This won't be en masse, I think.
Mm-hmm. So practically you're saying that some people will just remain in the 3D.
Yeah.
So practically this is when they say, some people will graduate, some won't. Is that kind of the point?
Think there's a mechanism like that, and it will happen. I cannot quite put my finger on it, or I cannot picture it how this is possible. But at the same time, we do have multiple dimensions right here, right now, right? There are
Of
many,
course.
many different dimensions, and so they're all here. So it's happening right now. So why is it not possible that some people will disappear into a higher dimension while others remain in the lower? And what is said, one of the things that happens is when somebody graduates from 3D to 5D, I think one of the terms that is used is called ascension or ascended master or something like that. And they choose to come back to 3D so that the others can be helped and graduated from 3D. So these kinds of things happen.
Mm-hmm. Got it, yeah. Got what you're saying. Okay, so practically some souls that come from higher dimensions come back down for this purpose, obviously.
You there, Nora?
Yes. Hello, can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, no, I was just saying that, so practically you're saying that people who come back down from a higher dimension come down for that reason, to kind of help people come. Yes, okay, got it.
Yes, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just like, when we talk about, for example, star children, they're helping with their energy to kind of rise the collective energy up, or the collective consciousness up, and help people wake up. Even though they may not be doing it face to face, but the energy itself, people whoever is ready is going to start picking up that consciousness, that frequency. And if they're willing to ride the wave, they will.
Right.
Yeah, makes sense.
And I personally feel quite strongly that everybody concerned with this particular radio show, Nancy, Colleen, JP, and the guys, and most of the people doing different things in the alternative media, we're all coming down from another dimension to help out Earth souls. I feel that quite strongly about myself. I don't know how you feel, Nora, but I think just think about the fact that I'm just an average guy, but I'm on the radio trying to, discuss things, trying to educate myself and others. Why would I do that? I mean, what gives me the confidence that I can teach somebody something and my words and things I'm saying are useful, valuable to someone? Why would I even think that?
Yeah, I understand.
The reason I can deal with it. I'm sorry, Nora. Go ahead.
No, I'm with you. No, I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah. I don't have any specialty. I'm not I'm not an expert in anything. So why do I still get on the radio show? This is because I feel I identify myself with this Messiah thing, which is kind of negative, but I don't take it as negative. I think, the Messiah syndrome may be egotistical or narcissistic, but I personally don't feel that. I just think that it's just a job, okay? I worked in IT. I was a support person. I helped people out. Mm-hmm. If you have a problem, you have a virus on your computer, I would go and clean it up and you're back in business, right?
Yeah.
So I'm doing the same exact thing with exopolitics or whatever, with spirituality. It's the same thing, same idea. I'm just doing a job, but I'm not getting paid for it, but it doesn't really matter to me. Because the satisfaction that I get, honor that I feel due to Nancy and Dolly and Colleen, JP, you inviting me to these shows, I feel good that it doesn't tickle my ego, but it makes me feel proud.
Of
Does
course.
it make sense?
Absolutely. Right. I think every person who has a role to play has a bit of that Christ consciousness.
Right.
Because, we really don't know, at least now on Earth, because, we can't remember, at least most of us can't remember, what's going on in the higher planes when we were there. If I have to speak about myself personally, I know that I have something to do. I came here to do something. But at the same time, I know that I also came here to learn. Because if that was not the case, I wouldn't be dealing with issues that I'm dealing with. So,
exactly.
Because I have issues that I'm dealing with. like things that I have to work on. For example, learning how to love myself, not letting other people, just standing my ground, not letting my empathy cloud my judgment, where I let it play against, I let it backfire on me. I need to learn that balance where I can put the boundary with people. You know what I mean? And still give them love, still show them love and appreciation and care. But without you get what I'm saying? Yeah. So when you have these kind of issues, then definitely there's still personal work to be done. For me at least, I'm talking about myself. So I'm here, yes, I have those qualities that I have to be honest, and it has nothing to do with ego. This is absolutely not egotistical, because, you also have to be fair to yourself.
You need to talk about yourself.
No, but in the sense, even say what is good about yourself. Mm-hmm. Just like you talk about your weaknesses, you also have to be proud about your strengths.
Absolutely. This is very important, I think.
Yes, but and people will judge. People will say, for example, oh, look at her, look at him. Oh, they think they're all that. No, it doesn't matter what people think. What matters is what's in your heart. So just as I have things I have to work on, I know that I came here on this earth born, no one taught me these things, born with certain inherent qualities from my soul. Exactly. And they're there for a reason. You get what I'm saying? For example, one thing that I have never experienced, thank goodness, I mean, to me this is a huge blessing, is jealousy.
Okay.
I've never once in my life felt, oh, I want to have what that person has, or why does that person have that? I've always been very happy to see people happy, even in my most miserable times. You get what I'm saying? So that's something, where is that coming? That's a human emotion that most people experience. Now I have other emotions. I have anger. I have resentment. I have those, I have feelings of victimization. But for example, jealousy, that's just an example. Why don't I feel that? Mm-hmm. Then maybe I don't need to learn that lesson.
Exactly. You learned that lesson already.
Exactly.
Right.
So this is the beauty of it, that we come here to give, but we're also here to learn. And
Yeah.
Go ahead.
You know what they say, you learn when you teach. That's also true. So,
yes.
Or I think you learn when you serve as well.
Absolutely. I mean, I learn from my kids more, honestly. I learn from my kids more than I learn from adults. I mean, this is something, seriously, my jaw drops when I talk, for example, even with my son, okay? But mostly with my daughter. Even with my son. My son has said things I was like, wow. And I'm like, how do they know these things?
Right.
And I know
the
environment.
Special souls.
Yeah, I remember once when I was back at home, the last period before having to kind of leave the country. It was a very bad situation. That period was very difficult at home. And I got into a dispute with my brother. And that day, I'm very protective over my children, like all moms. And practically he started to, kind of bully me, and they were there. And I told him to knock it off because it was not the right time. And I just didn't want it to get out of hand because he raised his hands more than once, and I didn't want it to get ugly in front of my children. So and my daughter was like she was there, my son was there, and at some point I called my mom because he wouldn't stop it, and I went to her and I told her, tell him to stop. Mm-hmm. Tell your son to knock it off because he's big, I can't do anything. If he doesn't leave, then there's nothing I can do. What can I do? She totally ignored me, and I started getting frustrated because she's just like ignoring me. And I told her, I mean, the kids are here. This is not appropriate. You know what my daughter did? She came up. She grabbed my hand. She held my hand very tight, close to me. And she just looked at my mom and told her, when your daughter asks you for help, you should listen to her.
Wow.
And then she said, Mom, come down with me. She, in that moment, was the one who was protecting me.
Wow, that's
She brought me, it's amazing. She brought me downstairs. We went down and, we closed the door, and unfortunately I burst into tears because I just couldn't take it anymore. I was already under a lot of pressure. And I cried because I was so upset that they had to see it. And, they started hugging me, and my daughter was like, Mom, don't worry. I said, no, I'm crying because I didn't want you to see this. You know what she said? She said, Mom, you don't have to worry about me and my brother, me and both of us. She said, we're old souls. You don't have to worry about us. And I looked at her and I was like, what?
She knows.
Oh yeah.
She already knows.
She does. And it's not the first time she says that to me. She's like, Mom, we're old souls. And she never heard that expression from me.
Right. She's actually... Right.
Imagine, your own kids. And at the time, she was only 12. Okay?
Wow.
So these things shock you. And that's why I think, going back to the subject of kids, we have to listen to our children more. Because they have things to say. They're just kept quiet. You're kids. You don't know what you're talking about. You're just children. You gotta listen to the adults. The adults have experience. Well, you may have experience as adults, but these children are much closer to the time they were born, and they have much more recollection of what was before that. So if they're just given the chance to express themselves, they won't forget it. And unfortunately, a lot of children, because they need to, peer pressure, the pressure of society, they need to fit in, so they just block it out.
Right. Interestingly enough, Nora, we came a full circle with children. Remember we started talking about children and Mary Rodwell?
Yes.
She's such a special person.
She is
so admirable. She's unbelievable.
Yeah, I like her too a lot. What she's doing is amazing. I have to say.
And she pushes forward. I never seen her talking about the same stuff twice. She's always uncovering new information, always pushing the envelope and discovering new ideas about these children and everything else.
Exactly. And what's really fascinating, it's the similarities of some children. One thing that really caught me was the whole mantid thing. That's when I kind of got really interested in Simon Parkes. When they were talking about a little boy in Australia was, talking about how the mantids behave in a certain way, and when they're happy, they take you up and they make these like little sounds. And, Simon Parkes said the same thing. So this is just an example, but what fascinates me is that children that don't know each other in different parts of the world, or people that don't know each other, that live in completely different parts of the world, no connection, and they experience same patterns of things. So, yeah, without her research, one wouldn't be able to know that. So yeah, she's doing really an amazing job. That's really cool.
And in the beginning of the show, even before the show started, I told JP I was going to ask him some questions. So we're kind of reaching the last 20 minutes of the show. So how about, Nora, did you have any direction you want to go?
Not at the moment. Let's bring in JP if he's not doing something right now.
If he hasn't fallen asleep yet.
Bye.
How's it going, JP?
Oh, yeah, sure. Whatever, 3:30. No, it's going fine.
Okay.
I'm dealing with about 19 different chat rooms and personal private chats with different people all the same time. As you do. This is my life all the time. People think, oh, he's just sitting there doing nothing. Further from the truth it could not be.
How you do this, JP? It boggles my mind how you guys do it.
It's a mind boggler.
Yeah.
It was designed that way. Hang on, let me just finish. Because I was just kind of chewing on some peanuts while you were just about to say, when you said JP. And peanuts take a lot longer, a lot longer to chew than you hope they would. I let people know because you could die. You could easily die trying to speak when you've got peanut fragments. You know,
we
it's
don't
like
want that.
shrapnel in the throat.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very sharp and hard.
So, meanwhile, Neel, you can ask me
sir.
some awkward questions. Okay, I'm prepared. I'm holding on. I'm holding on tight. What's the deal?
We came a full circle with the children and Mary Rodwell, and we touched upon the mantids. So we're back into ET subject again, which my questions were about this actually. So I'm kind of happy to.
All right. Well, I'll tell you.
get a
I'll tell you what I.
so we can
I'll tell you what
segue
I know.
into an ET question.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, even though we didn't cover any of that today.
Neel,
So
I'll tell you
basically
what.
My question
go on.
was this is
Yeah.
was about people in general, the non-alternative media people, how important it is for them to learn about the ET heritage of humanity and the existence of ETs on planet Earth and the good ETs that are benevolent ETs helping humanity out, and how important it is for them to know about these things. Because my experience says, even today, the majority of the people in my country, they still cannot quite swallow it. They think this is not true. ETs don't exist. This is the general idea I'm getting. So this is one part of the question. And the second part is, can you tie this ET thing with the pedophilia that's kind of popular now, being exposed heavily in the media?
Okay, in less than 10 minutes.
Okay.
All right,
yeah.
I get the gist of your questions. Right. Okay, let's see what.
Okay, and
No. That's part. Look. This is a big. This is a big.
All right,
this is
yeah, go
2
ahead.
hours worth of answers. But let me just see what I can come up with. Number one is everybody's trying to promote the idea that we evolved from amoebas on this planet, crawled out of the primeval soup, and all this BS. It's BS. It's rubbish. The trouble is that there's a large group of people who believe that Genesis is a real, literal book,
Right.
and not what it is, which is a Reader's Digest of stuff that people have gathered about past histories that have no chronological connection, no linear chronological connection. And people make linear assumptions. So, alright, so let's just get back to that. But then of course you have the Vedics. And the Vedas are really old, and they know they're really old, and they say how really old they are, but nobody dares admit that, they're hundreds of thousands of years old, and that humanity has been going on, that there are old stories, and there are stories about who came here and why they came here and who we are, who the human race is. And the problem is that people are convinced that we're all made from one African woman 6,000 years ago. What?
Right.
Yes. All right. Okay. So the whole context of the question is, we are all ET. We are all immigrants. We are all refugees, if you like. And It's like a bunch of refugees arrive at a refugee camp first and say, this hill over here is ours. That's what Earth is. That's what Earth is. That's the whole Earth history. If you could just kind of keep repeating that, that's Earth history. Mm-hmm. But it's not that's not real. There's a whole greater story, and a lot of it is that we were damaged in a very old war, and this war is coming to an end now because of the amount of damage that it's done, and we have to stop it, and we're part of stopping it because we're part of starting it.
And this war is between who and who?
The humans and the reptilians.
Reptilians, right?
Yeah, the Alpha Draconians.
Can you simplify?
Sorry, Alpha Draconians. Let's just make it really clear.
Okay.
Not all reptilians are bad. Not all reptilians are bad. But the Alpha Draconians, they're bad. They're badass,
Yeah.
You can't, they imprison, they torture, they're horrible, they're arrogant, superior, all the things that you see. Now, Nora, earlier on, you were talking about violence between the sexes. And you're right to question it's all men or it's all women. It's what happens. That's the Draconian's method. It's called divide and rule. You pit one group against another. So first of all, you torture and rape the men, and then they rape and torture their women. Because that's how the natural process of things happens. People pass their feelings on. And they have feelings. They have their own traumas and abandonments. They were basically failed laboratory experiments, and they've got a big chip on their shoulder about it. That's the thing. And they're augmented because they were found by the AI and says, oh, look, we'll look after you. So they've been run by this archonic AI system for a very long time. And, it's brutal and harsh, and, they hate us because we love everything. And, this is how we're going to make things better, but by not fighting them in an angry way, but to, use love as a manifestation protocol, if you see what I mean. When you're in love, magic happens, right? And it happens because when you're in love, you're in your true higher nature. Because your higher nature is love itself. The nature of soul is love, as I keep saying. It's not just Barry White thing.
Right.
The nature of soul is love. So if you're in love or in a love space, then that's your higher nature, and your higher nature has manifesting abilities. So when you're in that space, you can manifest a better world. You can do it right now. All of us.
Right.
And that's how we make the world better. So, and the thing is to take it completely out of, oh, they did it to me, or something did it to me, or, everything's being done to me. We're all like hose pipes. It's all coming through us. And until we debug ourselves and realizing, that we're a laptop that's been brought into a high security environment and we're full of viruses, we have to be very cognizant of our thoughts as they go out, especially if you're on the radio. So, how did that answer any of your question?
Absolutely, JP. Just one.
Oh, the pedophilia thing. Hang on a second. The thing about children is that the Draconians are very large, and there's also another race called the Homo capensis, and
right.
This is all connected with the Vatican and a very large organic computer that lays way down in the basement, or that used to be there, that's to do with the funneling of energy. And they discovered that by traumatizing children, they could extract a great deal of energy. And it's like this creature kind of was made to drink love, if you like. It's just desired love. But didn't realize about, reciprocation and all the other stuff about love, and just took it. And it used these capensis to torture and rape these children. And that's the whole Jesuit network. They're kind of telepathically connected to these capensis guys, and then that channels into the machine that then extracted the energy off planet.
Which machine?
The Beast. The Beast is a machine. It's like an organic computer. It's old, very old, and it's dead. It's what creates the Matrix.
JP?
Yeah, sort of. It's an organic living thing. It's kind of more like a tick. It was horrible. I had some connection with it, some interaction with it a few years ago. Anyhow, so that's the whole pedophilia thing. And so the kingpin of that has been removed, and that's now why it's all being revealed, because the whole network is going to be revealed, and we'll see that it's comes through the Jesuits, and through the Homo capensis and the banking system, and eventually the archons, and one by one these beings are being cleaned up. Go ahead.
So what's the relationship between the capensis, the Draco, and the archons?
That's about it. Yeah, Capensis Draco Archon. Yeah, there we go.
Okay.
With the Archons at the top of this infernal pyramid. This is, from what I can understand, this is what cause I asked the same question of Simon a few weeks ago. I said, Simon, like, let's get a list of the, like, how bad is bad, and he said, well, there's the Archons and then the Reptilians and then the Greys and then, and he obviously, because the Mantids have got their own agenda, which is not always, particularly pleasant for humans. It's just a thing. It's just their thing, they have their own stuff. Anyhow.
Okay.
All right. So does that answer all your questions?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. I just have one question regarding the Draco and their AI system. Who is in control between these two? Who controls who?
The AI.
The AI, yes. Correct.
The AI.
Go on, Nora.
It's created,
have you got some stuff on this one?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Oh, I heard Simon talk about it. Practically what he was saying is that the AI took over the controls of the reptilians, of the Dracos, and they've been controlling them ever since. I mean, this is just very simply put.
Did it make them worse or better in some ways?
Well, they took advantage of because from what I understand, that the Dracos already had their own characteristics of being very domineering and very, tyrannical, and so they had very good characteristics to use. So they were kind of the best candidates, if I could say that. That's why I believe, from what I understand, the AI chose the Dracos to use them as a tool.
But I
to
know,
invade.
Nora, listening to Corey Good, I have a slightly different perception, maybe, that almost quite a large number of advanced ETs, when they reach certain level of advancement technologically, they tend to get into AI, and lots of different space races have their own version of AI, which is a phase of the development of a species. But what happens is, oftentimes, if they're not spiritually developed enough, the AI takes over, and the species get destroyed and bastardized and maybe even destroyed, while the AI remains alive and, it attacks somebody else. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I heard that version too.
Right.
That's the thing. I personally don't have as I was saying before, I don't have a stand on things. If I can't touch things, or see them,
Right.
I can't have a strong opinion on anything. Because
right, you go by feelings, I think, right? You go by feelings.
I go by feelings, but I look at all of this very objectively, where I listen to everything. As you said, gather information.
Right.
I can't sit here and say, oh, it's like this or it's like that. Personally, that's just my take on it. I don't know. I personally believe that they do exist. ETs do exist. That's my gut feeling. I have never seen one. The ETs could be actually these spirits, these demons, these angels. I personally don't know. I mean, there's a lot.
Wait.
There are many gaps.
I'm sorry. JP just told you that we're all ETs, so, never mind.
Exactly.
Sorry, and I left my mic open, so sorry about the plate clicking.
Don't worry about it.
What are you doing, JP?
I've just had some curry sauce.
Ooh, that sounds good.
Korma.
Excellent.
Korma.
Yeah, so that's it. I mean, whether we're all ETs or whether some are ETs this is just the way I see it. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of gaps. There are a lot of things that we still need to, we didn't figure it all out. We don't know. There are so many things we still don't know. I guess this is what this is what everyone is doing, trying to figure it out. You have the experts that have translated things like Zachariah Sitchin and a lot of other people. They've done their part. Other researchers are doing their part. So,
exactly.
You're going to find different versions. Personally, I'm a little weary to take one road or the other, because I just prefer to stay in the middle, because it's much easier that way for me to see both sides. But yeah, there's definitely something supernatural. There's something definitely supernatural. And I believe that magic and science or technology are one. They're one thing. They're just, they're different, how can I say? They're different ways of expressing energy manipulation.
Okay.
You can use them you can do them in one way or another. You can use hair to do magic. You can use a piece of metal. That's an equipment. But at the end, it's all manipulation of energy. It's doing something it's performing something to get a result. Whatever that result might be. So as above, so below. It's all the same thing.
Right.
Now, I don't know if I confused you more with my statement, but it's already a very confusing subject anyway.
We're down to 3 minutes. Nora, did you want to wrap it up? Or
well, I just wanted
JP to do it. Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to thank JP, and I want to thank you, Neel, and thank everyone else who's listening for having me on the ODD Collective. I'm really happy that I came on, and I hope everyone enjoyed it. I honestly had a lot of fun. And again, thank you so much, and I hope we can do this some other time again.
Thank you for being here, Nora. You've been great.
Thank you.
It's been fun. JP, did you want to wrap it up for me?
Well, I think it's great that we're extending our hostship.
I'm sorry, he's probably eating his soup.
Can you hear me? No, can you not hear me? Neel, I'm here.
Folks,
I'm here. Wait a minute. Wait.
Track Radio.
All right, I'll let him talk.
That's okay, JP. I'm sorry, I forgot that you were eating.
So listen, it's fantastic to have you two representing the Middle East and the Far East. You know that we are extending our family across the planet, and I just love that. I freaking love it. So thank you.
Awesome.
Thanks, man.
Both of you.
Really appreciate it.
All right. So stay safe, everyone. I'm going to be talking with Tolek in a few minutes' time from Dakota.
Wow.
So he spoke us many years ago about the journey of the Dakota people from the Pleiades, and their origin is Taygeta of the Pleiades. So
is that right? I thought they were Andromedans.
No, he's from the Andromeda Council, but that's part of the Pleiades is part of the Andromeda Council. But anyway, so there's a long story there. But basically, the Lakotas are Pleiadian immigrants. We're all immigrants. We all came to, it's like America. Anyway, I'll, thank you very much. And, as requested, Get Up, Stand Up will be there, Peter Tosh and Bob Marley. Thank you very much. Good night.
Good night.
Cool. Thank you, everybody.